After 12 years of marriage, my millionaire husband fell for the new receptionist at his company. She's nearing 40, not as pretty as me, not as fit as me, but in just 6 months, she's provided my husband with immense emotional fulfillment. Ethan Smith said to me wearily, "If we divorce, the house and the car are yours." Scarlett Fisher, can you please just let me go? I lowered my eyes and said softly, "Okay." Then, I bought a calendar and circled a date on it. Divorce countdown, 30 days. I slid the divorce papers in front of Ethan Smith a mere 40 minutes after he told me he was having an affair and wanted a divorce. As requested, the house, the car, and our son are all mine. He's giving me a lump sum of $2 million in compensation and child support. After that, my son and I won't bother him anymore. Ethan Smith was on a conference call at the time, and when he saw the words divorce papers, his expression shifted almost imperceptibly. Then, he nodded, indicating he understood. I left the room. To save us both time, I packed all of Ethan Smith's clothes and belongings. 3 suitcases full, and afraid of missing something, I even put his childhood photos from the attic in there. Finally, I saw our wedding photo in the corner. In the photo, Ethan Smith's features were handsome, and I was smiling sweetly, embracing freely in the sunlight. That's when he would always hold me and murmur, "Honey, I love you so much. I'm so lucky to have married you." Ethan Smith and I met in college. When I met him, he was a poor student wearing old canvas shoes. Many people were pursuing me then, but I fell in love with Ethan Smith at first sight. He was calm, kind, and handsome. He had countless qualities I admired. After graduation, we got married naturally, and he and his friends started a company. After I got pregnant, I became a full-time housewife. I devoted myself to taking care of Ethan Smith, our family, and our son. As the business grew, Ethan Smith's social engagement, NTS, and drinking increased. In my busy and trivial life, I made time to exercise, learn makeup, and improve my fashion sense. Ethan Smith didn't disappoint either. No matter how busy he would come home and spend time with our son, cook meals, and help me manage the relationship with his mom. In the eyes of outsiders, we were a model couple, a model husband and wife. At some point, Ethan Smith started scheduling meetings in the evenings. Sometimes, he would be so busy that he wouldn't come home all night. Friends even joked with me, telling me to be careful and keep an eye on things. I said it wouldn't happen, but I was still worried. I sent late-night snacks to Ethan Smith and his colleagues a few times. There was nothing unusual, just a group of people in a meeting, and that woman was waiting at the front desk. Her name is Jane Doe. She's in her 40s, not tall, a bit thin, with short hair, and she looks unremarkable, but her voice has a tenderness that doesn't match her appearance. She smiled and greeted me. Over the years, I hadn't ruled out this day coming. I thought it might be a beautiful secretary at the company, or a lively college student, or even a decisive female boss. But I overlooked her, the receptionist. I heard that she had been married once, and her husband cheated on her and divorced her. This was her first job after the divorce, and she cherished it very much. She would come to the company early and remember everyone's little habits, and occasionally make some pastries. Some colleagues even ordered lunch from her for convenience. When I found out, I told Ethan Smith that she wasn't having an easy time and to take care of her. Ethan Smith was always indifferent. A company isn't a place for sentiment. I've already advised her not to engage in transactions outside of work. At the time, I jokingly said that Ethan Smith, the boss, had no heart. Now I think he was probably feeling sorry for Jane Doe, who had to work all day and then make key-out meals for her colleagues. As for why Ethan Smith chose to talk about divorce today, it was only because I made him a hangover remedy as usual this morning. He looked at the remedy in front of him, sighed, pushed it away slightly, and was silent for a long time. Then, he suddenly looked up at me, his eyes tired, and asked me if we could get a divorce. He confessed that he had been having an affair for 6 months, and that he would take time out of every overtime shift to go to a hotel room. My heart trembled, and I tried hard to control myself from losing control. I asked who it was. When he said Jane Doe's name, I even thought I had misheard. A feeling of powerlessness washed over me. Cold and icy. When Ethan Smith came out after the meeting, I had already finished dinner, cleaned the kitchen, and was sitting in the living room watching TV. As if nothing had happened. He turned around to take a shower, and halfway through, he realized there were no towels and subconsciously called out to me in the bathroom. "Honey, where's my bath towel?" I didn't turn around. "It's already in the suitcase. If you don't mind, use mine first, and I'll throw it away later." What responded to me was a long silence. When Ethan Smith came out, he realized that there were 3 suitcases in the entryway. He sat down opposite me and slid the divorce papers over with his fingertip. "I can give you $1.5 million in child support first, and the rest will be paid monthly." I interrupted, "No need, let's just buy it out in one lump sum." "I don't think she would want you to contact me again." Ethan Smith's eyes showed confusion. "Our son isn't just yours. I also have the right to participate in his growth. I know I was wrong, and I'm willing to compensate, but you don't have to threaten me with our son." I paused the TV show and looked at Ethan Smith seriously. "It's your fault that you cheated. It's reasonable for you to pay compensation and child support. Compared to your assets, it's not much for me to take the house and the car. Our son has been raised by me since he was little. He's a highly sensitive and demanding child. How much energy do you have to take care of him while you're in love? Participating in his growth isn't just about money, it's also about time and companionship." Ethan Smith was speechless, and after a long time, he said, "Anyway, I won't use $2 million to buy out our father-son relationship." I reached out and opened the divorce papers. $2 million is for compensation and child support. If you have other emotional needs, you can transfer money to our son. I'll open a separate account for him." Ethan Smith suddenly laughed. "Scarlett Fisher, I never knew you loved money so much. All you talk about is money. What else? Is loving you useful?" Ethan Smith was choked and didn't say anything. He signed the divorce papers with a sullen face. He also scheduled a time with me to apply for divorce at City Hall tomorrow. Then, he called his driver. I went to sleep after finishing the TV show. When I woke up in the morning, Ethan Smith had already left. Our son ran out of his room and hugged me, excitedly telling me that he had a very happy dream last night. I listened to his sharing and tentatively told him that his dad's company was busy recently and that he might be away on a business trip for a long time. My son was uncharacteristically different, not like usual, when he would keep asking to call Ethan Smith and ask, "Dad, when are you coming back?" He said "Oh" and pursed his little lips. "It's okay. I'm happy as long as I have Mom with me." I couldn't help myself anymore. Tears welled up in my eyes, and I went to the bathroom to compose myself. In addition to being sad, the most I felt was guilty towards our son for not being able to grow up in a complete family. But I knew that this guilt wasn't caused by me. I sent our son to school in the morning, and Ethan Smith and I went to City Hall to apply for divorce. There's a 30-day cooling-off period, and then we can get our divorce certificate. After getting back in the car, I circled a date on the calendar, marking today. Divorce countdown, 30 days. I hesitated whether to tell my parents about the divorce now. I grew up in this local city, and all my relatives and friends are here. My parents are retired teachers, and I'm their only child. They are very open-minded, but my father's health hasn't been good these past 2 years. I was originally planning to wait a bit longer. Ethan Smith called me a few days later. He rarely calls me. He usually sends WeChat messages because he knows I'll reply to him at any time, which he finds convenient. I deleted his WeChat last night. I answered the call, and Ethan Smith's voice was no different from usual. "Scarlett, your mom just called me and said she cooked a lot of dishes tonight and wants us to come over for dinner. I think your dad's health isn't good, so maybe we can wait until he recovers before telling him about the divorce. What time should we go? And next Sunday is your dad's birthday. Should I go with you first?" I was still hesitating, but when I heard Ethan Smith's words, I decided to tell my parents the news. I replied that there was no need. "Ethan Smith, you don't have to be so stubborn. The old folks' health is important." I said softly, "If you really cared, you wouldn't have cheated and divorced me at this time. My dad's health isn't good, but he's mentally sharp. I don't think you would want me to continue in a marriage with someone who is unfaithful. Ethan Smith. Yeah, don't call again. If you want to see our son, follow the agreement, once a week. Hearing this, Ethan Smith also lost his conciliatory tone. Scarlett Fisher, I'll say it again, Tommy is also my son, my family. But you gave up his home, didn't you? Finally, I heard Ethan Smith hang up the phone heavily. I hung up decisively and tried to calm my somewhat distraught emotions. I simply drove the car to the mall. I was planning to replace the bedding, sofa, and all the furniture that Ethan Smith liked. And I wanted them all in stock. After replacing everything, I cleaned the house and then went to my mom's house. When she saw me, she didn't see Ethan Smith and thought he was busy. I was silent and nervously called out, "Mom." She immediately realized that something was wrong with me, put down what she was doing, stared at me, and then gently pulled me into her arms. I didn't say anything, but a mother's intuition felt my emotions and grievances. I tried to calmly tell her everything, and my mom handed me a tissue to wipe away my tears. Her voice was very soft. It's okay, divorce is very common these days. It's better to say it sooner rather than later if he's not honest and does something like this. If you're divorced, you're divorced. Scarlett, I only have one request for you. After she finished speaking, her eyes became a little wet, and she held my hand. Now that you've decided to divorce, don't ever get back together, no matter what. I nodded tearfully, okay. After dinner, my mom and dad talked in their room for a long time. When they came out, my dad gave me a big red envelope. He said that today was a new beginning and worth celebrating. I hope my darling daughter will always be happy and joyful. I cried for a long time in the car after leaving my parents' house. Before coming, I was always afraid of disappointing their expectations. They had hardly ever argued in their lives and were always harmonious. When I married Ethan Smith, everyone was against it, but they said they respected my decision. Now that Ethan Smith had become successful and everyone was envious, saying that my parents had good eyes, they supported my divorce with equanimity. I wiped away my tears and looked at the calendar. Divorce countdown, 28 days. When I picked up my son from school, he said that Grandpa had called him and said that he missed him, asking if he could stay at Grandpa's house for a week. He asked me to take him there. I was stunned for a moment, then took my son home to pack a small suitcase. He was very happy and said that Grandpa had promised to take him to play with his drone. I took my son over there. My mom came out with me. Scarlett, cheer up, go out and take a walk. When I got in the car, my mom stood there watching me, not going inside for a long time. I opened the car mirror and looked at myself, my face pale and my expression low. I picked up my makeup and touched it up, applying a bright red lipstick. I went back and packed my things. I went on a trip for a week, hurriedly seeing many people and landscapes, and hearing many stories along the way. I came back feeling much better. I looked at the calendar. Divorce countdown, 21 days. I came back just in time for my dad's birthday. This time, they planned to hold it at a hotel and invite relatives and friends to get together. The hotel was located not far from home, with a total of 5 tables, all familiar relatives and friends. Many people were asking about Ethan Smith. Fortunately, my son had an interest class today and didn't come. My parents didn't answer directly. Before the meal started, my dad went on stage to speak, and that's when Ethan Smith came. He was wearing a suit and tie, carrying a few bags of gifts and a large red envelope. Relatives and friends greeted him one after another. He waited for my dad to come down and handed over the red envelope. "Dad, happy birthday." My dad glanced at it indifferently. "Mr. Smith, you're too kind. We'll pass on the red envelope. After all, you and Scarlett are already divorced. I wouldn't dare let you spend money." Ethan Smith's expression instantly froze on his face. The relatives and friends were in an uproar, but quickly fell silent. He said in a very soft voice, "It's still in the agreement." My dad shook his head. "It's all the same, it means the same thing." After he finished speaking, he turned around and told everyone to eat and drink. Ethan Smith just stood there. He clenched the gift bags, and my mom politely returned the other gifts. He didn't stay any longer and left. Seeing him leave, the relatives and friends tacitly didn't mention Ethan Smith again, and no one would ask me about him again in the future. That was good. My mood gradually recovered, accepting and permeating. I dropped the title of Mrs. Smith. I reverted back to Scarlett Fisher. The company's property management and butlers also learned the news from somewhere and stopped calling me Mrs. Smith and instead called me Little Scarlett. I also quickly tried to keep myself busy and planned to open a coffee shop. There happened to be a store for sale, and I was very happy with the renovation address, so I signed the lease directly. The employees here are all there and can continue to operate, but I want to take the time to adjust the categories and flavors, and replace the storefront and tables and chairs. Provisionally set it as a trial operation. I spent a day at the store working on plans and was planning to go back. I looked at the calendar in the car. Divorce countdown, 15 days. Just as I got downstairs, a girl named Ashley from Ethan Smith's company called me. She was cheerful, and her personality was carefree, which made her very likable. She asked me if I was busy, and when she learned that I wasn't, she started complaining to me, asking if I was going to divorce Ethan Smith. I didn't hide it. She asked if it was because of Jane Doe. I didn't know why she said that, but I felt that Ethan Smith might have made it public. Seeing that I didn't say anything, Ashley cried out bitterly. Little Scarlett, I knew it was because of that woman. No wonder you haven't been sending us afternoon tea lately. I miss you so much. When Ethan Smith and I were together, I would send afternoon tea almost every week to thank them. Some colleagues would often joke that they wanted to work her. Forever and eat Mrs. Smith's afternoon tea. It's okay, I'm planning to open a coffee shop, and when you come, I'll treat you. Ashley exclaimed and quickly asked for the address. I said I would send it to her later. She said okay, and then continued to complain. You don't know that Jane Doe. After you left, she went straight from the front desk to the integrated office director, and her attitude towards everyone is different. She used to smile at everyone, but now she finds fault at every turn. She can't hide the smugness on her face at all. She even bought dresses and high heels that are similar to yours. Anyone with eyes can see it. What is Mr. Smith thinking? Finally, she said that if she didn't have a mortgage, she really wanted to quit her job to avoid having to read people's faces. I arrived at my front door and saw that Ashley was still talking, so I comforted her for a while, and then she reluctantly hung up. Even now, I don't seem to want to know anything about Jane Doe's situation. Unlike when Ethan Smith told us about the affair, at that moment, I frantically wanted to find out what charm she had. I pushed open the door, not expecting to see Ethan Smith's shoes. He was playing games with our son. When our son saw me, he excitedly shouted, "Mom, come quickly, play with us, let's beat Dad together." In the past, at this time, Ethan Smith would pick up our son and tease him and make him laugh, and then come and grab me. The whole house would be filled with laughter. Now Ethan Smith coughed and rubbed our son's head. Mom has been running around all day and is very tired. Maybe next time, okay? Okay. Dad, when will you stop traveling? Ethan Smith thought for a moment and said softly, soon, and then urged our son to go to bed. I was too tired to exchange pleasantries with him after being busy at the coffee shop all day, so I told him to lock the door when he left. He said he had promised our son to sleep with him today. I didn't say anything more. I went back to my room and closed the door. I heard Ethan Smith's phone ringing in the living room. After he answered, he repeated a few things. Finally, he lowered his voice impatiently. I said, "I'm only home to be with Tommy. What are you afraid of? We've already agreed to get divorced. How many times do I have to say it? We're not sleeping in the same room." Finally, I heard Ethan Smith hang up the phone. He came over and knocked on my door. "Scarlett, something suddenly came up at the company. I have to go back first. I'll try to make time to come back and be with our son tomorrow." I didn't open the door and said okay. The voice was neither loud nor soft, enough for Ethan Smith to hear outside the door. Before he had even left the building, I received a notification that $50,000 had been transferred to our son's bank account. The memo said to take our son out to eat something good tomorrow. I didn't reply to him. I opened my computer and looked at the coffee shop's arrangement plan, but a stranger's message popped up on WeChat. There were no words, just a smiling emoji. Her profile picture was a bouquet of flowers, and when I clicked on it, it was a simple background with nothing in her moments. I didn't even remember when I added this person. Looking at the conversation page, it was actually 2 years ago. I was still thinking about it when she sent a sentence. Are you very proud? Almost instantly, I felt that this person was Jane Doe. But didn't Jane Doe only go to Ethan Smith's company 6 months ago? Why did she have my WeChat 2 years ago? Could it be that this account has been secretly watching my life for the past 2 years? I gasped. I replied with a question mark. The other person typed very quickly. No matter what method you use to keep him, I can make him come over immediately. It really was her, Jane Doe. Did that mean that Ethan Smith knew Jane Doe 2 years ago? Or even longer? Jane Doe sent a photo. I clicked on it and saw Ethan Smith sleeping in a hotel room with his upper body naked, with a woman's hand on his chest. The red date in the lower right corner of the photo read 2023. 2/16. I stared at the photo, feeling a burst of discomfort in my heart, a feeling of nausea washing over me. I violently threw up into the trash can on the floor. February 16, 2023. That was the date of my dad's first scheduled surgery after he felt unwell. Ethan Smith was very busy throughout February. He was on a business trip continuously. In order to come back and be with me, he even pushed back a few meetings. He comforted me gently in the video the whole time, telling me to relax. Because I was nervous and couldn't sleep, Ethan Smith stayed on video with me all night. With great difficulty, he managed to rush over early on the morning of February 16th to accompany me while we waited outside the operating room. As a result, on that day, he took the time to sleep with Jane Doe while he was busy. How could he come back and face me with peace of mind? Seeing that I didn't reply, Jane Doe became even more smug. She continued to send several photos, all marked with dates. There was our wedding anniversary. There was our son's birthday. Every time, he would accompany Jane Doe first and then rush back to be with us. A huge nausea spread from my heart, devouring my pain. Yes. I originally thought that Ethan Smith had grown tired of us in the past 6 months. That he was tired of our plain and warm life. Or that he had met true love in middle age. It turned out that it had already rotted. I went to the bathroom to wash my face. I went back to the computer and saved the evidence one by one. I knew that Jane Doe dared to send it to me because the $2 million from the divorce agreement hadn't been fully paid yet. Ethan Smith had transferred $800,000 in installments in the past half month, and there was still $1.2 million left, which he said might take some time. The house and the car were already in my name, with no loans. The agreement was also written clearly. If he agreed, there would be no disputes. If I made a scene now, it would affect Ethan Smith's company. If he became exasperated, it would only lead to me losing more than I gained. My son would also completely lose his father. When Ethan Smith said he was having an affair and wanted a divorce, he probably expected me to cry and make a fuss. But it was in my nature to care most about saving face, so I wouldn't go crazy at the company. But Jane Doe didn't expect me to be so quick. I didn't make a scene, or even confront Ethan Smith, which exceeded her expectations. She knew that whoever made a scene first at this time would lose. But one thing was very strange. Jane Doe had been able to stay by Ethan Smith's side for so long, hiding so well, and even managed to pretend to be an innocent good person for 6 months after joining the company. Why did she suddenly become so impatient? We were clearly going to be completely separated in another half month. She would actually make a scene because Ethan Smith went home to be with his son. I looked at the time. It wasn't too late. I called Ashley. She was having dinner with a few colleagues from her department, talking about the gossip between Ethan Smith and Jane Doe. Everyone exchanged information. I learned a few new things. Ethan Smith got drunk at a social event 2 weeks ago, and the beautiful female boss of a partner personally drove him home. Later, the other party privately invited Ethan Smith out a few times. Plus, I hadn't gone to the company to send afternoon tea this week, so everyone guessed that Ethan Smith and I had argued. That he was about to be single again. As soon as this spread, there were some little girls who had ulterior motives and were rushing to jump on Ethan Smith. After that, Jane Doe couldn't sit still. Little Scarlet, you're so good. I really don't want to hide it from you. Please don't be sad. Although Mr. Smith is handsome, he's a jerk. You'll definitely meet a better man. No, yuck, what's a man? Little Scarlet, you'll definitely usher in the peak of your career, and your coffee shop will be a hit. Then you can talk about men, haha. My originally low mood was amused by Ashley. Thank you, I'll try my best. After hanging up the phone, I looked at the time. It was past midnight, and the reminder on the calendar was particularly clear. Divorce countdown, 14 days. Combining Ashley's words, I knew why Jane Doe was so anxious to have Ethan Smith send her to the integrated department and the reasons for her change in mentality. Ethan Smith and I were preparing to divorce, and she was originally going to succeed in moving up. But now that other people had learned the news, they were flocking in. Everyone's conditions were not bad, and they could all create a sense of novelty. She was afraid that the cooked duck would fly away. She felt a sense of crisis. She needed to use blatant power to knock down those who had ideas about Ethan Smith. This half-month was probably not the first time she had made a scene. Tonight, she forced Ethan Smith to leave. She was probably also aware that she had gone too far. So she wanted to use those photos to provoke me. To pull me to confront Ethan Smith, so that Ethan Smith could also see what I looked like when I went crazy, so that she could shift the blame onto me. Before she sent these dirty things, I really didn't want to bother with it. Since she insisted on disgusting people, I would fulfill her wish. I neither blocked nor blacklisted her. The first thing I did was make a dinner appointment with Ethan Smith. He was dazed for a moment, then agreed. The restaurant was the place where Ethan Smith took me for my first birthday, near the college campus. At that time, it was a small diner, but now it had doubled in size and the business was getting better. When Ethan Smith's luxury car parked in front of the restaurant, it was out of place with the surrounding old alleys. This was the best thing that Ethan Smith from more than 10 years ago could afford to treat me to. He used the money he had saved from part-time jobs for a long time to buy me a necklace and take me here to eat. Looking at the Ethan Smith in front of me in a tailored suit and the sincere young man in my memory, I watched them overlap and disappear. I didn't look for a private room. I specifically chose to sit on the side of the road, where the sunlight was very good. No one spoke. After Ethan Smith ordered the food, he skillfully rinsed my bowls and chopsticks with boiling water. While eating, Ethan Smith always felt that the taste was wrong. He even called the boss over and learned that his father was still the chef. He was slightly surprised and didn't say anything more. I took a bite of stir-fried pork with chili peppers and felt that the taste was still the same. I laughed and said that he had changed. Ethan Smith asked, "Really?" "Of course. Over the years, Mr. Smith has seen too much and eaten too much. He no longer thinks this little restaurant tastes good. But I think the taste is still the same as it was back then." Ethan Smith stopped eating and looked at me. He was silent for a moment. "Scarlet Fisher, I'm sorry." I smiled bitterly. "People are already looking forward. I want to learn that from you." Ethan Smith spoke slowly, tentatively. "You don't want to ask anything? Would you tell me the truth if I asked? Tell me that you were still messing around with Jane Doe on the day of my father's surgery?" "Ethan Smith, you can't say it." He was silent, sighed slowly, and then asked me if there was anything wrong. I said it clearly. I needed money recently and wanted to ask him if he could give me the $1.2 million as soon as possible. "Scarlet, even if you came to me today for money, I'm very happy. All these years, I didn't realize that I had moved on while you were still in the same place. I'll give you the money as soon as possible. If you need any help in the future, you can contact me at any time." After Ethan Smith left, I went to the front desk to pay the bill. I sent a red envelope to the big boss to thank him for the little favor he had just done. He told Ethan Smith that his father was still the chef, but the kitchen had more than one chef for a long time. This stir-fried pork with chili peppers was not made by his father at all. Although the taste was close, it was still different. It was normal for Ethan Smith to taste the difference. I wanted him to feel enough superiority from here, to feel that he was already different, while I still remembered and cherished the past with him. Showing weakness and negotiating would be much easier. After going out, I went to a private studio. I contacted them last night, and the news came out this afternoon. Fast enough. He handed me a file folder. It was Jane Doe's. Age 41, married, with children, the child is 12 years old. Her husband works in a factory in the next city. In addition, the person she has been in contact with the most in the past 2 years is her younger brother. Her younger brother also knows about Ethan Smith's existence. To be honest, I was still very surprised when I saw this news. I knew Jane Doe's age, but she said at the company that she was divorced. And she also has a child. The main point is that she's not divorced yet. I asked the studio director, "Is the file package real?" He gestured okay at me triumphantly. "You can rest assured about my work. As long as you give me the nod, I can send it out immediately." No need. I didn't want these files to notify Ethan Smith. On the contrary, I hoped that Jane Doe could hide her husband well recently. At least hide him successfully until I finished the divorce. I underestimated Jane Doe. I thought she wanted to be a mistress. I didn't expect her to be a pig butcher. She spent 2 years on Ethan Smith. Seeing that she was about to succeed, she definitely wouldn't let others cut her off. I circled a TE on the calendar. Divorce countdown, 13 days. I was busy with the coffee shop's trial operation when the $1.2 million arrived. I slightly changed the style of the store and set up coupons. The effect is pretty good so far. My friend asked if I would lose out on the deal by taking the lump sum payment. I think it's rare for someone to have smooth sailing in business. There can be all kinds of unexpected situations. Ups and downs are normal. It's hard to guarantee how long things will last. A lump sum is just easier. The main thing is I don't want to have to contact them every month. My friend said that makes sense, money in hand is real. Ashley also came here for coffee when she was on break. She said Ethan Smith landed a big deal recently and is busy negotiating. Jane Doe came to work carrying a designer handbag, acting much more subdued. It's obvious Ethan Smith is using a bag to appease her. Jane Doe's restraint is to get even more. This is what Ethan Smith sowed back then, and he might soon reap the consequences. Like that day at the restaurant, Ethan Smith and I were eating. I saw Jane Doe standing at the corner outside the window. That night, she sent me even more explicit photos, brazenly revealing half her face. I've already packed everything, ready to send it to her husband when I get the divorce certificate. After organizing the files, the doorbell rang. I got up to open the door. Jane Doe had her hair dyed and permed and was wearing lipstick in the same color as me. When the door opened, Jane Doe was a completely different person, her eyes full of provocation. "Ms. Fisher, sorry, Mr. Smith's household registration book was dropped here. I'm here to bring it over." As she spoke, she tried to enter the door. I blocked her. When Ethan Smith and I filed for divorce, he took the household registration book. Is that so? Maybe Mr. Smith was mistaken. Actually, to be honest, I just wanted to see you. Mr. Smith doesn't know, but how could I not understand? You're playing hard to get, aren't you? I asked, really? So you think stalking my social media for 2 years is enough for you to understand me? She covered her mouth and chuckled, pushed my hand away, and looked around the room. Scarlett Fisher, I really thought you didn't care. But Ethan Smith just left, and you've already changed the style of the place. What's the matter? Are you afraid you'll be sad? As she spoke, my son was awakened by her and called out Mom. He asked if Dad was here. Jane Doe giggled. Tommy, I'm Auntie Jane. Your dad is in a meeting and won't be back today. And maybe not tomorrow either. I clenched my fist, ignoring Jane Doe. I hurried in to comfort my son. When I went inside, my son was staring with his eyes wide open, looking a little sad. I promised to take him to the amusement park tomorrow and told him to go to sleep early. When I came out, Jane Doe was still in the living room, leisurely drinking red wine. I knew what she came here to do. In a few days, it's Ethan Smith's father's birthday. In the past, we would always go together. Ethan Smith also called and mentioned it, asking if I could go back with him one more time this year. But she, Jane Doe, doesn't want me to go. Ethan Smith's hometown is remote, and his parents moved to the suburbs a few years ago, but it's still not close. This trip would evoke too many memories. She's afraid that something unexpected might happen. She just wants to provoke me, so she has enough reason to badmouth me to Ethan Smith. Perfect. I also got the $20 million and didn't know what reason to use to refuse Ethan Smith. So I slowly walked over, lowered my eyes and stared at her, and suddenly raised my hand and slapped her hard. Her face was turned by my slap, and she laughed. It's nothing special, is it? All that indifference you showed before was fake, wasn't it? How does it feel to have your man stolen by me, someone high and mighty like you? I grabbed the glass from her hand, grabbed her hair with one hand and dragged her out, covering her mouth with the other, dragging her straight to the door. She struggled, and I threw her out. Jane Doe, you've achieved your goal. You can go complain to Ethan Smith like this. If you don't think it's enough, I can give you 2 more slaps, to make things even. Jane Doe pointed at me angrily and cursed like a shrew, screaming. When she rolled up her sleeves to rush over, I took out my phone to record it. She glared at me resentfully, picked up her bag from the ground, took out her phone, and tearfully called Ethan Smith. I glanced at the date. I was calmly looking forward to ending this farce. Divorce countdown, 10 days. Ethan Smith's call came quickly, and I could hear the restrained displeasure in his voice. He asked me why I hit her. Even if Jane Doe was wrong, I could just kick her out. Now it's become like this. If Jane Doe doesn't want to settle it privately, calling the police will make things complicated. I laughed. Then let her report it. She trespassed first and is morally corrupt after. As a mistress, didn't she think she would be beaten before coming to provoke me? She also verbally provoked my son, implying that you wouldn't have time to be with him. Ethan Smith, my son is my bottom line, my hope, and yours too. After speaking, without waiting for Ethan Smith to reply, I hung up directly. I sent him a message, refusing to go back to his hometown with him this time. I felt completely relieved. My private studio called me at this time, saying that Jane Doe had just called her husband and would use a sum of money to get him to divorce her. The two agreed to make an appointment next week. She's robbing Peter to pay Paul. Eventually, she won't be able to make ends meet. She's probably forcing Ethan Smith to get a marriage certificate. The head of the private studio sighed with me. This Jane Doe is also a weirdo. You say she's impatient, but she can hang around Ethan Smith for 2 years to seduce you say she's patient, but at this critical juncture, she has to cause trouble. After speaking, he continued to analyze. Maybe she didn't feel threatened before. The underground relationship was actually stimulating. Now, at the crucial moment when she's trying to get promoted, too many people more outstanding than her have appeared around Ethan Smith. She's just worried about being intercepted by others, so she's showing off. I sipped my coffee, maybe. From this day on, Jane Doe's alternate account stopped sending messages. Ashley came to the store for coffee and told me that Jane Doe, as a secretary, accompanied Ethan Smith to Ethan Smith's father's birthday. She became much more low-key after returning. It seemed that Ethan Smith had finally agreed to give her a promise. Ashley asked me what I thought. That's great. Ashley ought softly. Little Scarlett, do you really think so? A mistress getting to the top. I nodded. He precisely found his retribution among all living beings. Isn't that great? The coffee shop also completed its product and decoration adjustments today. It officially opened, and I posted a record on social media. Also, I circled it on the calendar, divorce countdown 5 days. For the first 3 days of the opening, I was busy until very late. I barely looked at my phone. When I was organizing the information, I saw the text message that Ethan Smith had sent me before, wishing me well. I pressed delete and then scheduled a time to get the divorce certificate. After a long time, he replied with a message. Do you need to talk again? Let's talk after we get the certificate. After a while, Ethan Smith replied with a okay. I continued, 10 a.m. All right. The night outside the window was still the same. It seemed that nothing had changed. But the decoration in the house had been completely renewed. It was anticipation. It was also rebirth. I put all the photos Jane Doe gave me into a file bag. Divorce countdown, 2 days. On. The day I received the divorce certificate, I waited at the door for half an hour, and Ethan Smith arrived in a hurry. Simple small talk. Completed the procedures and received the certificate. Holding the divorce certificate, Ethan Smith looked a little lost, but quickly recovered. He asked me to have lunch together. I have something to do. After speaking, I didn't look at Ethan Smith again. I went out and sent all the photos Jane Doe sent me to her husband. A month later, Ashley came. She said that I and Ethan Smith posted it in our social media circle of friends not long after receiving the divorce certificate, with the caption as if it were a dream. 2 months later, Ashley bought a lot of snacks to see me. She said that she was originally preparing to resign, so she could use binge eating to comfort herself. Now she doesn't need to, and wants me to eat and be happy. I brought her coffee. I asked her what made her so happy. She said that she finally didn't have to be oppressed by Jane Doe anymore, and she smiled like a hemp rope while speaking. Little Scarlett, you don't know, just last week, Jane Doe secretly announced that she was going to get a certificate with Mr. Smith. I even wrote my resignation letter. As a result, just this morning, a man rushed into the company, grabbed Jane Doe and beat her, scolding her for cheating. He also shouted around, asking where Ethan Smith was, saying that he was a mistress destroying his marriage. At first, some colleagues tried to stop him, but the man threw out a pile of photos. Ugh, so disgusting. Later, the others could only laugh it off and pretend to pull them apart. Ethan Smith was in the office at the time, but he didn't come out. Later, the secretary said that the man maliciously photoshopped the photos and had people kick him out. I saw someone following him, probably to discuss things. From this incident, it seemed that Ethan Smith would probably not get a certificate with Jane Doe. He hates people lying to him the most, plus the mistress scandal. Even though he has sealed the news, his rival company found out. They used it as material to criticize and denigrate him. Ethan Smith's image plummeted. The company's previous products, which he had endorsed himself, had all the endorsement images taken down. In order not to let the matter spread, he bought off Jane Doe's husband, asking him to come out and apologize, admitting that he had fabricated the rumors and photoshopped the pictures. Jane Doe also resigned from the company. Ashley heard that she was also divorced, and her ex-husband took a large sum of money. Ethan Smith also came to see the child a few times. He looked tired. Sometimes he wanted to stay for dinner, but I refused. He walked to the door and hesitated to speak. Scarlett, is there any chance for us to start over? I looked at him and slammed the door shut. Every time my friend called, she said she wanted to introduce me to a boyfriend. I declined several times. Now, earning money is more practical and reassuring. Oh my God, Scarlett Fisher, you can't lose hope in love. It's not that I'm disappointed, I'm not rejecting it, but I'm not expecting it. Not long after, she brought a very elegant man to my shop. He was gentle and polite. We simply got to know each other. The man and I were too busy, and we often didn't have time to chat. My friend was so anxious that she was spinning around. Scarlett Fisher, aren't you moved by this kind of perfect guy? I laughed. I'm busy. My friend sighed helplessly. I lowered my head to calculate the cost of opening a branch. Half a year later, I saw the man post a photo of his marriage certificate. I silently liked it. Sure enough, after this like, his company often ordered coffee. The reason was that his wife liked the taste here. I was still happy for the big client. A big thing happened on Ethan Smith's side. It was said that Jane Doe went to Ethan Smith's office in a trance. At first, she was normally asking King Ethan Smith what he wanted to eat for lunch, but suddenly, in front of the investors, she pulled out a knife from her bag. She asked Ethan Smith when he would marry her. Then she broke the tables and chairs in the office all the way, scaring the investors to run away. Ashley described the scene as unbelievable. Ethan Smith's face turned green with anger. In the end, Ethan Smith called the police and arrested Jane Doe. Just after 2 days of peace, Jane Doe's younger brother came with a bunch of people, demanding that Ethan Smith give them an explanation. Ashley heard that Ethan Smith paid money to settle it temporarily. But she guessed that with Jane Doe's younger brother's hooligan look, it was hard to say when it would end. After all, he had tasted the sweetness. Not long after this incident, many people resigned. The main reason was that they were worried about being accidentally injured later. Their lives were more important. Ashley was also going to change jobs. She said that afterward, some companies offered good salaries, and they all took in the heartbroken colleagues from Ethan Smith's company. She couldn't help but laugh, and her new company's salary was not bad. Little Scarlett, this really confirms the saying, if you mistreat your wife, you won't get rich. I remembered the first year after Ethan Smith and I got married. He bought a decoration that said that listening to his wife would lead to prosperity. He put it in the office every day. Later, one day, it was broken, and he never put it up again. And now, even the face of Ethan Smith in my memories is blurred. Ashley looked at me and asked hesitantly and gossiping, "Little Scarlett, aren't you really curious about how Ethan Smith and Jane Doe hooked up?" I answered truthfully, I was curious. But even if there wasn't Jane Doe, there would be others. No matter what the scene or environment was at the time, it was just giving him an excuse to cheat. After sending Ashley away, before closing the store, Ethan Smith came. The white shirt he was wearing was a little wrinkled, and he smelled of alcohol. He looked very bad and his voice was very hoarse. "Scarlett, can I order a glass of water?" I asked someone to bring him a glass of water. Not long after, the store closed. He followed me all the way to the car. After I got in the car, he said he missed the child a little. Could he ride in my car to see him? Sorry, he went to my mom's house today and won't be back anytime soon. You can see him according to the agreement. His face was pale, and after coughing a few times, he hurriedly stopped me. "Scarlett, I was wrong, I'm sorry. I'm not human, I'm sorry to you, I'm sorry to our son. Can you forgive me? As long as we can start over, all the assets can be in your name." I shook my head at Ethan Smith. He stepped forward and grabbed the car door, panting heavily. "I can swear, I can guarantee that if there is another time, I will leave with nothing. I was really drunk at the time, and I was temporarily overwhelmed by emotions. I felt that life was too bland. I didn't even think you would agree directly to the divorce. I thought you would blame me and scold me. I was stupid and didn't know how to appreciate such a good life. But I really love you, Scarlett, you have to believe." I interrupted, "Ethan Smith, I have a lot of things to do and don't have time to be with you. Whether you are coming to me to appease the investors or if you really have some regrets, it doesn't matter to me. What matters is that you are forever in the past for me." Ethan Smith's lips were tightly pursed until they turned white. He still wanted to speak. I interrupted impatiently. "Ethan Smith, let's just stop here. If I say any more, I'll be rude." He suddenly hurriedly took out his phone and showed me a Weibo alternate account. "Scarlett Fisher, I know you won't forgive me, but I swear to you that the first time with Jane Doe was really an accident. This is my alternate account. Which records our life for so many years, and then later cheating, is all on it." He kept talking and kept flipping through it. I could see that there were many times he had secretly photographed my back in sentences expressing lingering love, until he was frequently busy with work and worried about the company's development. I turned my head and stopped looking at him, preparing to drive away. Ethan Smith hurriedly threw the phone into the car. After arriving home, I casually threw his phone aside to wash up. When I came out, I saw that Ethan Smith's phone was still lit up. It must have been set not to lock the screen. I stared at the screen, reached out and turned it off, throwing the phone into the trash can. I sat down at the computer and planned the location of the coffee shop branch. As for me and Ethan Smith, I only hope that in the future, we won't see each other, won't think about each other, and won't waste time with him.